Now, the rest of the story.
Well, in the process of cleaning out my truck, I found part of my camera mounts for my GoPro that were hidden down underneath the seat, like back in the molding. But that's probably not why you guys are tuning into this video. So I've been alone for, well, just this whole week actually. And I gotta go out and make sure everything's got bedding. I'm not so much worried about feed because we went through and fed everything before Dad and Ryan left. But the rain that we got just saturated everything. So I think this is gonna be a every farm video, or not video, every farm all the cattle need bedding. Sorry, the Mountain Dew hasn't quite kicked in yet. And if you guys watched my YouTube, I've been doing shorts here, like the little mini videos, and I did kind of poke fun about taking the 79 out and using it, or at least pulling it out, hooking it up to this, and taking off with it and hauling some manure while Dad isn't here to throw rocks at me. Problem with that is, as fun as it would be to do, I mean, don't get me wrong, I had a lot more intricate plans for that other than that short that I made on it, but it's just so muddy out, I really don't want to take it out and get it all gross and disgusting because we're still working on it, and we'll talk about that. But I did this last night. Lost the wheel bearing on the back side here and just got it together last night. Went together actually relatively quick. Part of the shaft was chewed up a little bit, so I had to go through and clean it up. I mean, it wasn't chewed up to where it was, you know, wobbly, and it was just imminent failure. It's just you know, you don't stop immediately when the bearing fails or right when you first see it. Or we found it on the last load, so pretty much as we were driving back to the shed anyway, we looked down and saw that the wheel was wobbling, so it's not like the bearing fell off or anything. So the reason that at this point, you guys really haven't heard me say or do much with the 79. Yeah, I drove it off the truck. I drove it up across the field. That's all I've done with it for myself. This time of year, I mean, we're February, it's cold. Typically it's froze, so since it's been home, the ground actually hasn't really been froze long enough where we could take it out and play with it. And really just don't want to take it outside in the mud, in the muck, and like you said, I could go out and draw figure eights out in the field with it and get it all muddy for Dad, but like I've already been told, he may look like he's kind of getting slow, but you'd be surprised how quick he can move if he comes back and this thing is brown. So I just best not to tempt fate. What we did have him do, which I don't know why they wrote it on here, all the filters, engine oil has been changed, fuel filters, air filters, hydraulic filters. They didn't change the hydraulic oil as far as I'm aware. I didn't ask them to do that, but that was actually a request from me, because at least that way, coming from the dealership or from the guy's farm, because it went from the guy's farm to the dealership to here, I can put it down in my notes that this tractor is field ready as far as filters and everything goes, as of the hours it had when it came home. So at least going forward here now, I can keep it up to date and change it appropriately, because I didn't want to say, okay, just do the engine filters and I'll worry about no, just you get that lost in translation thing, and I just do them all. So at least that way we're done, and that's just going to be that. As far as the plastic goes, it seems a little much, but Dad was actually looking for was it Egyptian cotton sheets for it, you know, the high quality stuff. I mean, nothing but the best. Mom wasn't exactly thrilled with that when he said that, but the reason that we do have it covered, other than the fact that you're trying to baby a new machine on the farm, they did a really nice job. Bodenstetter did cleaning it off. They buffed all of the paint, and the decals were hit, looked like to me, with a pressure washer. So we got brand new decals on the hood. And as far as that goes, I mean, really happy with how it all went down. We always said we didn't want to do any sight unseen purchases, but with what the few pictures we saw of it and a little bit that the dealership could tell us about it. If you guys watched my brother's video on it coming back from Kentucky, we had about, I don't know if 2 minutes was all we really had to think about it, and Dad was already calling him back. We were like the fourth in line of people that were interested in this tractor. What people have asked, what about the front weights? It did not come with the weights. The previous owner kept his, which is perfectly fine. Has every right to do that. But we ended up going and buying brand new sets, brand new suitcase weights. It did come with the starter bracket, and we ultimately, I keep saying we, it was largely Dad and Ryan, so I'm not going to take credit for everything they've been doing. Had to pull this off, painted a bunch of the weights, the outside weights particularly, because they were kind of scuffed up and, you know, just being stacked and carried in pallets. So I mean, it looks all nice and pretty. This was an addition Dad wanted. I knew that this was out there. I mean, ultimately I just didn't really think about it, and because Dad was doing the majority of the research on this thing once he had already said okay. I was aware of these front lights. The only thing is we have to go through, and I'm going to say we because I'm probably going to be helping do it anyway, going through and putting in a dedicated circuit and a specific switch in the cab just for these lights. Otherwise, if we tied them in the way we were told to wire them in, we wouldn't be able to run them all, because I think they're supposed to replace the ones above it. Don't quote me on that. I don't want to spread misinformation. But another thing I wanted to address was the fact that it is narrowed up for 30-inch rows. The 4640 was not. This is going to be replacing the 46 in regards to planting. So we've never planted with a tractor that is set to 30-inch spacing. Personally, me and my buddy, we go back and forth in this a fair amount. Depends on your soil conditions and depends on the year. So I'm just going to use the get out of jail free card on that one. I didn't really see much of a yield drag or even an emergence issue when we had two of the rows following not directly in the middle of the tire track on the 46 on the corn planter as it was pulling it. My buddy, he said that one year where he did on sod, he said you could see everywhere, every two rows where the tires were. So we kind of go back and forth on that. We feel like we'll see some sort of yield advantage, and seems how it's already set up for it. It just makes sense just to leave it alone. We're not entirely sure, and that's why everything you hear me say about this tractor for the next 12 months, quite literally, everything I say right now is all hearsay, because what we think we will use it for, we'll want to have it set up, and how we're going to utilize it going forward. For all of these tractors in this shed, for all these machines, until you run them for a year, you can't say in confidence that that is exactly the only thing that tractor is going to be used for going forward. And that's kind of my stance on it. We're going to use it for planting, we're going to use it for cutting, we're going to use it for raking. The 46 might not get used a heck of a whole lot this year. I mean, when we got Dale or Kevin or Andy, I mean, basically any of our family friends that come and help us make hay or plant or harvest, I mean, we'll have plenty of tractors for everybody else that shows up. And also having something that has a cab, suspended seat, it's a little bit easier for Dad to drive on longer days. We got 3 dedicated tractors for Dad, Ryan, and I to use for the most part. And that was a big push why Dad wanted it. Just just another machine that you can jump into. Taking the duals off for this first year probably isn't going to happen. It's going to sound kind of crazy and stupid, the fact that we're running around with duals making hay again. If it wasn't for the valley, that wouldn't be a thing. Honestly, I mean, it's going to be out in the pasture a little bit, like cutting brush, but honestly, if it wasn't for the hills down at the valley, we'd leave it narrowed up and just take the duals off. But to widen it out, it's already been narrowed up. I mean, you can see the rims and all that have been switched around. But to widen it back out, we're not entirely sure if we have enough axle to actually move the duals out far enough to where chances are these, so let's see here. You can see that tire has actually been spun around. We got this gap in between the two rear duals. I think what you'd really be looking at, if we spaced it out wide, it'd be spaced similar to the 82, where essentially I can't even get my arm down in there. I can get my hand, and I can just barely get down in there to check the air tire pressure in there. So we're not really sure what we want to do for the tire spacing as of yet, but for this year, you know, using it and seeing what we like and how it works out, it's going to stay set up the way it is. And I don't think, I got my camera. I don't feel like running back down to the truck just to get a light. Sorry guys. But let me get my cell phone flashlight out. This right here is the big reason why it was such a challenge to find a tractor. Yeah, the internet's full of tractors to buy, don't get me wrong. And this has been entirely Dad's project, by the way. I haven't been involved with the looking of the tractors, the searching for of the tractors. I'm just going to be running it and maintaining it. This right here is very, very important. This is our 540. We got a lever there we pull. We're going to make a video. I'm sure Ryan and I both, at the very least Ryan, one of us is, because trying to find information on this stinking thing is absolutely terrible. Because as much as you trying to figure out what it takes to swap these different power takeoffs around is a nightmare, because you can't hardly find anything on it. And you take these 4 bolts out, and then this whole assembly, this cast piece here, if I'm not getting you sick here, that all comes out, you spin it around, and then your teeth right here go back into the housing, and then these teeth here engage, and then when you switch it over to your 1000 or 540, you'll be able to run both shafts, the 1000 and the 540. It's got 3 remotes on it, ISO bus, we got power beyond, but I think we do need to find another K-string for it, because with the planter and the hydraulic requirements the planter has, that is going to be a little bit of a challenge. I think the plan is still going to be putting the power takeoff hydraulic pump on this machine to kind of take up some of the slack that the planter will need. Ugh, blind myself. To run everything that's on that planter, because that planter is a monster. I was already told, we'll get up in the cab here. I don't want to talk for 30 minutes. I can't. I was already told that the 4640 was going to have a hard time running that planter set up the way we have it set up. Oops, take myself out. Just because being able to run 4.8 miles an hour with the planter set up the way it was the fastest that I wanted to run, because otherwise my singulation would plummet. When I say plummet, I'm talking like out of 100% singulation, which means every single seed is being perfectly picked, pulled up out through the fingers, and then set or dropped down the tube. And my singulation was like low 90s. That's atrocious. I'm a perfectionist. I mean, whether or not that's doing me any good or not, I like to think it is, because, you know, yield tends to show it. And with what do we got? Hydraulic downforce is going to be its own circuit. The vacuum is going to be its own, but the hydraulic downforce is going to be bad enough because it's going to have all 12 rows that it's going to have to adjust as you're going across the field, versus the speed we were going We're probably going to be running about 5.5 now, closer 5.5 to 6, which was part of my issues before. Is I wanted to go at least 5, and I'm being told now that 5.5 is probably going to be the norm because of the I keep wanting to say centrifugal force, but the velocity. The velocity of everything running in those meters and the belts and everything is actually going to work in your favor going faster as opposed to actually going slower. Not like you're going to get a lower singulation or a terrible singulation, but it'll just work better going faster. So I mean, that's a plus because we can cover more acres in less time, right? Because before, the best I could do was like over between 12 and 13 acres an hour, and that's if I'm running nonstop. Closer to 15 acres an hour is really what I'd like to be at. I mean, we did pick up more ground going into this year, and we're just constantly trying to gradually grow until we get to where we want to be. I mean, the cow herd is its own beast, the hay and everything else, and I'm just trying to, on each different part of the farm of the operation, cattle, hay, crops, kids, I mean, trying to make subtle changes to everything and just trying to get everything to work as best as it can. Dad was the one that wanted to put the lights in the front. Ryan is the one that is going to go ahead or is putting the lights up top here on either side of the cab. So this thing is going to be lit up like a Christmas tree, which is what we want, because running 36-hour days, which is typically what I'll probably be doing, plant for 36 hours, start in the morning, run till the following night, and then sleep for 12 hours and then 36 hours again. If the weather dictates it, that's what I'll do. That's what I did last year. And all the lights around here are going to be a combination of LEDs. Ryan wants to get the LEDs up here, and then the rest of these lights around this tractor. When these models, the 20 series, actually have the two. Can you see it? There's one right there, and there's one on the other side of the cab pointing straight out. Absolutely love that. But the goal is to have LEDs all the way around this thing so we can run whenever we really want to with ease, as in, you know, all around the clock. I'm gonna drop this light out. I want to see what it has for a bulb. I want to replace it with the LEDs like I have on the other tractors. It cost me like $1 to get an LED light to replace that, which is awesome, especially when, once again, you're working late at night. Who's that handsome character? All right, so as far as this tractor goes, it has a IVT in it, which is probably one of the things that gets me super duper excited about it, because for planting, I think planting is going to be so wicked awesome having IVT, because I can set my speed on the monitor there, and if I'm, you know, quick example of pulling to the headland, I'm going 5.5 miles an hour, I want to drop down to 5, I can either do this, just drop it back a little bit, pull into the headland, pick the planter up, turn around, get started back where I need to do, drop the planter down, and then all I got to do is do that, and it'll take me back up to my set speed of 5.5 miles an hour. I mean, it gives you two different ranges, so I'm just using that one as an example. But also too, instead of just pulling it back like that, I can actually just take this knob, and you guys can't hear it, but it does have notches on it where you click it, so I can drop it down 3 or 4 clicks, think that in my head, do my turn, do my headland, drop everything down, get going again, then just click, 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 and you're good to go. Accelerated explanation, but you're going to see a lot of videos of this tractor going forward, and, you know, a combination of them, me talking to you and kind of cruising across the field. It's just that IVT is great for roading also, and that is one of the two jobs this thing is going to be doing, is planting, and it's going to be replacing the 7600, pulling that easy trail wagon up and down the highway in the fall, pulling that gravity, that thing around, just because with IVT on it, I'm actually hoping it'll save on fuel, because one of the settings on it, it'll actually, you push the throttle all the way ahead, and it'll actually rev back down to like 1500, I think it's 1500 RPMs, but as you're going down the road, as long as the transmission is able to run at your set speed, whatever that may be, at 1500 RPMs or 1700 RPMs, I mean, it's been a while since I've been in IVT, but don't take everything I'm saying for concrete facts yet. But the engine will actually rev up or slow down based off of what the transmission needs to stay at your set speed. So if that doesn't have you confused enough, I don't know what will. But I'll try to explain it better going forward here. With the mechanical front wheel drive on the front end, the auto track will actually works better with mechanical front wheel drive. It goes through work to dirt so much easier. I'm not a big fan of the spinner. That's probably gonna go bye-bye. Just something. The 76 and the 82 don't have these spinners, and it's just something about the mechanical front wheel drive. I'm so used to not having them because it seems like you catch them more than anything. I just don't really need it. For how much that I back up and pull ahead planting, the left-hand reverser on this thing is gonna be used quite extensively because I don't do the curved corners. I always do 90-degree corners. So I'll pull up into the corner, pick the planter up, turn, back the planter up, drop everything, and then go. With the 4640 isn't even here. That's why I was having a hard time earlier. Oh. Okay, well, that's that. With the 46's transmission, shifting it back and forth, it doesn't exactly shift the easiest for all of you guys that are used to running those types of transmissions. The way everything's laid out on here, I mean, the 82 is nice, don't get me wrong, everything is right here, but also having this whole area dedicated to all your controls and your hydraulics, and I mean, I kind of like this too, as opposed to having just a little screen. This tractor with the 540, just the reason that we were looking for 540 is so we could put it on the spreader, we could put it on the feed mill, we could put it on the brush mower. It'll probably, out of all those three machines, implements, it'll almost ultimately end up on the rotary mower, the brush, the Rhino, and either be used to cut brush this summer, waterways and everything, or cutting stalks this fall. But we don't know everything we're going to do with this tractor until we actually have it and see what it works best at. That's, like I said, it's probably going to be used for, everything, cutting, raking, hauling hay in, and if I start hauling more hay back from the valley, I could see using this a little bit more. I'd really like to get 2 hay wagons and start hauling hay back to the farm, because roading all that hay up to the auction and hoping hay will sell is getting kind of old. At least cut down on the amount that I got to do that for and just feed cows. I did go through and do this just yesterday, 2 days ago. Lancota Monder bracket. Nice thing about this is the fact that we're going to have a whole bunch of Monders and controllers in here, that having a dedicated spot it could go into is going to be huge, because everything from, I got to put the fertilizer controller in here, the row cleaner controller in here. The ag leader monder is going to be like somewhere like right in here. The reason being is because of all the switches for each of the individual rows and everything that I control in the monder. If my hand is going to be resting here controlling my speed or hydraulics, it's going to be nice to just click, just simple. I mean, simple is very important to me when we're doing a lot of that stuff. So this video has gotten way too long, so I apologize, but you're going to be seeing more of this tractor going forward here. We get into probably mid-March, late March. We get the planter back, we got to get everything mounted in here for the planter and start getting all the oils changed, because the 82, the 46, the 40, not the 4020, maybe the 4020. I gotta go and look at my notes, but very, very, very excited and much to look forward to going into this summer. With, once again, we got picked up another farm, so gradually growing is a good way to say that, and being able to do it in comfort, and something that can go up and down the road a little bit faster. I don't know what the top speed in this thing is, but it's got to be faster than 18 miles an hour, because with the GPS and the Monder and the 46, the 46 would do like 18.9 on a good day, and that was if it was going like downhill. So something that can bounce between fields a little bit quicker, especially like planting, is going to be nice. I talked too long, so for those of you that are still here, thanks. I really appreciate your support. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. And there's people looking for me. Yep. So, all right. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.